Human Resource Development and Training Specialist Eddie Frederick is powered by Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited and Tillian Group's Country Cold Store.
Co-op Bank introduces e-payments, our new e-banking feature that allows you to make payments online hassle-free. Log in securely with biometric technology. Make recurring payments easy. Automated scheduling. Save time by paying your bills online. Transfer money to accounts at other local and regional banks. Send wire transfers on the go to anywhere in the world. Or send money to friends or family using buddy payment. E-payments, the swift, simple, and secure way of transferring money. I want the best for my family. So every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, or chicken. I just know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
We stand by you. Protection from all devils, big and small. Reassurance we give. It's so classy. Peace of mind. That's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
We have a special challenge to all who decide to come into the room and be a part of edification. The person making the most outstandingly relevant comment in keeping with our topic is in for a special prize. On the table is a breakfast for two at Oliver's Restaurant at world-famous 6-star Diamond 5-Diamond Spice Island Beach Resort. Lucky winner must make a reservation and present gift certificate upon arrival at the appointed time to redeem this gift. This will give you a wonderful opportunity to experience great service like you've never experienced it right here in Grenada from a business that is locally owned, locally managed, locally staffed, and locally trained. A true symbol of our national independence, Spice Island Beach Resort.
My wish, I'm gonna start. It's better my God. Whatever you're wishing for is Christmas. To give you a long interest and
Make your wishes come true this Christmas with a loan from Corporate. Make those home renovations, treat your family and friends, and get the things on your Christmas list. All of this is possible with our hassle-free financing of up to $40,000. Apply today, and you can be one of the 5 lucky customers to win a shopping spree. Have it all as you wish this Christmas with Corporate. Visit our website or your nearest retail banking unit for more details. Terms and conditions.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks. Good evening and welcome to Edification, our 141st edition. Something just fell here. Give me a minute. Let me just straighten that out. Okay, great. Settling down now. Welcome to my 99th Independent Live session and 45th for 2022. Our topic for today, TIFIN under fire at last. Accountability on the rise once more. We should say thank God for that. In other words, we're getting to become a decent civilization once more. Oh, what a topic this week. If I may say so myself, that is. Goodly folks, I want you to hit that share button and let us get the show on the road. Of course, from the time the bell rang and the election results declared on June 20th, listen to the year now, 1995. It was open season for broad daylight TIFIN in Grenada. That undesirable subculture activity became institutionalized, as it were. And it worsened incrementally until, boom, the country could not take anymore. And people rose up to change the tide. People's minds were stolen. People's pride was stripped. People's integrity compromised to the point where certain upstandish citizens, one time, who declared that that regime, headed by an individual of very distasteful inclinations, appealed to the baser instincts of the ordinary Grenadian citizenry, until they themselves became absorbed and appealed to their baser instincts, also reducing them to nothing, to the point where they are today scrambling for relevance. Such people have been reduced to pedestrian spectacles, with both their reputation and character merged in sweet unison. Oh, how we have lost so many one-time good people, or so we thought, who became absorbed by their very ego. You know, folks, we have to remember that quite a number of people whom we grew up with, oh, Lord have mercy, had a respect for, sold out to the devil to the point where when the devil was finished with them, they were reduced to cinders. Today, any attempt to rebuild institutions using locals to fill positions of trust is a tremendous challenge. The civilization is indeed mangled. Young people were held hostage for a very long time under a fake youth program, which had absolutely no vision, let alone structure, to deliver any worthwhile promising future to any of them. Many of these young people who started in this Imani program were reported to have been enrolled in excess of 11, 12, and even to 14 years. They were made to believe they were worth $600, $1,000, $1,200 per month. And that's the kind of meager money they were given and sent out to the government service in various areas and even to the private sector. Many of them never were even prepared for the world of work, and so they reported to their various places and embarked on a process of doing what they want, so to speak, while they collected their monthly pittance, reducing many of them to lifetime parasites. All this time, creative ways devised to siphon the national treasury through, I don't know, deep-rooted belief. You know the one word for that? Faith. And other sub-faiths. While the poor and vulnerable they so loved received crumbs and were convinced that they were really cared for and about by these bandits. Young people, hold strain. Help has arrived. Have patience. Position yourselves to be taken out of the dependency syndrome that the old gangster and his cohorts relegated you to. You see, Tiffin is under fire at last. Accountability on the rise once more. So folks, let's take a little break here and we'll come back to give you some more, because we have a lot of fire here this evening. Quite a bit of fire here this evening.
EDDIE-FICATION, consultant human resource development and training specialist EDDIE-Frederick is powered by Grenada and Country Cold Store.
The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
We have a special challenge to all who decide to come into the room and be a part of edification. The person making the most outstandingly relevant comment in keeping with our topic is in for a special prize. On the table is a breakfast for two at Oliver's Restaurant, a world-famous 6-star Diamond 5 Diamond Spice Island Beach Resort. Lucky winner must make a reservation and present gift certificate upon arrival at the appointed time to redeem this gift. This will give you a wonderful opportunity to experience great service that you've never experienced it right here in Grenada from a business that is locally owned, locally managed, locally staffed, and locally trained. A true symbol of national independence, Sala Beach Resort.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wunderbar, wonderful as we say in German. So folks, just before we continue and proceed though, I'd like to just pay homage and respect to all of you goody folks who continue to join this live every Saturday at around this time. Samantha, Allison, Maria, Kim K, we have here Doris, Winsome, Sawandi, my dear friend, blessings man, belated to you my friend, belated Earth Strong. Wayne, haven't seen you in a while, but of course I've been following your posts, so it seems like you're doing some sort of touring or something. Debbie, welcome my dear Cindy, Janelle, Judy, Margaret, welcome. Of course, that reflects one platform. And the other platform here, let me just take it from the top, because I just love to say hello to you goodly folks and welcome you. Kathleen, Kelvin, Shirley Ann, Joanne, Irva, Aldith, Lindy, Tamika, Rosalind, Margaret, Elise, Sarah, Tamika, we have Marcel, blessings to you, my dear. We also have Lydia. Lydia, you lost a dear friend recently. Blessings to you, my dear. I trust that all is going to be well, you know. Anna, we have Nicole, who else? Yvette, Fitzroy, welcome. Lima, Grashed, that's quite an interesting name. Lacey or Lassie, Rachel, Dread. I don't know if you were there last week, but I remember calling him last week. Blessings to you. Janice, Loisy, Sheena. Who else do we have here? Jennifer, Monica, Benedict, another Maria, another Donna, another David, Glenda, Val, Anne, and Suzette. You know, something told me here tonight that I've done well not to repeat anybody's name, but to recognize when I would have seen 2 or 3 of the same names to call them, and I'm doing good. Folks, welcome. We have quite a bit of program in store for you here this evening because a lot has been happening, a lot. Okay, so let me just tell you, welcome back, and let's see how much we can get done in this limited time. Of course, welcome Jackie to this program this evening. Now, one man who shall remain nameless contacted me recently to discuss his repentance with me. I found that very, very interesting, folks. He said the penny dropped a long time now when I said in the early aftermath of the NDC victory that many of the eater food people need to take a purge now. And after successfully purging, and they are ready to serve, come on board because we have a country to reconstruct. He said, what a pity. Many people do not realize what obtained prior to June 23rd was just not good enough for Grenada and themselves. He advised me that he was always a man who voted for the party that previously occupied national administration, but never gave it a thought to delve into any reasons why such. He was a cursory supporter out of habit, even though not vocal about politics ever at all. He has always been a follower of my programs, and no one could get him to stop listening, even though Some of his, other more vocal friends criticized him for listening to me. Because his mother and my mother were Garyites together, and he knew me from way back, he felt compelled to tune in each time he was able to locate me. And never regretted it, because he would learn a thing or two from me, because to him, I always had fresh perspectives on things in general. But folks, on interacting with this man, I found our discourse very healthy, very, very healthy indeed. He said what caused him to take notice is realize that when the NDC getting a new leader, I started to tout that change is coming. He said at first he was sarcastic and wondered who was going to move the previous administration. He remembered me saying quite gallantly that when COVID-19 pandemic is over and the demands of the new normal take root, Grenada's youthful population would wake up to realize that old thinking by old thinkers will not be able to offer any viable answers to the new demands. Because he was never vocal, he never discussed this with anyone, not even his wife. But he pondered it for a long time and started to agree with me. All this time, never thinking that the NDC will ever become viable to replace the old bad habit that we had for a government. As he listened to me more and more, I was quite amazed to recognize my incremental confidence in the change I saw on the horizon through a regular comment. A new administration is in the making. He became of two minds, that is, where is he getting this confidence from? And this is not happening at all. The latter mental construct was purely based on his conviction that the NDC is too weak to even defeat MBPM if they enter the race, far less to form the next administration. But with the benefit of hindsight, which is always 2020, he can say that because he was stuck in a mental frame and his friends were mostly of the persuasion of the past regime in terms of where their support lied or laid, he could not see the trees for the forest. Those of who may understand that particular popular saying, it simply means to not understand or appreciate a larger situation or problem because one is considering only a few parts of the said problem. So coming down to the final week of campaigning, last election, he started to take notice as he realized that young Mitchell was gaining traction after all. All this time I knew for sure that victory was just a few days away. This man was so wired to the tunnel vision support for the then incumbent that he was not feeling the lightness of the new breeze which started to blow over the nation in a serious way. Now, when the actual results were called by 8:15 p.m. on June 23rd, 2022, he was convinced that he was not paying attention indeed. With a bit of hindsight, he realized that it is a good thing he never was vocal about politics, and that his very all-inclusive nature has saved him from the ridicule he's witnessing so many of the rabid supporters of the past regime are made to feel. And he's tempted to say, and rightly so. Could you imagine it? Now, the stark revelations that are coming out with promises of more to come regarding creative ways that the National Treasury had been siphoned, pillaged, and raped are just among the few things that seem to boggle his mind regarding the conduct of the last administration, which he supported time and time again with his vote. He can now understand why the conclusion of many is that anyone seen to be close to the last administration had to be dishonorable as a person first. Interestingly, he sees some justification in that conclusion. When he hears of some of the dire challenges decent citizens who were not prepared to be compromised had to undergo at the hands of the administration he supported, being totally ignorant of these developments, he shudders to think he supported that. He said, based on who he is, if he had been known to many to have beaten his gums about his support for that administration, under whose leadership so many people were made to suffer, he would have come out publicly and asked them to forgive him for helping to foist such an administration on them. He was never even aware of all my travails under them either. And because we were exchanging ideas and thoughts on the issue of politics, I was able to share just a couple with him. Much amazement and visible disgust. Of course, no wonder you were gung-ho against the leader and his team. Now I know, was his response. You could have seen the remorse on his face and entire demeanor during our pretty lengthy discourse. Goodly folks, and that is why I ask you to not be distracted by all the pinheads and bully heads among us whose agenda was to get what they could get over the years, regardless of whom they stepped over or on, to appear to prosper. Such people can never be considered anything but enablers and accomplices of adulterated nastiness. But of course, there are some people who sat up and took note, whether ahead of elections and changed their vote, or after and changed their support for a system that was nothing but corrupt over the years, and one which was no darn good for Grenada. A lot of these enablers and accomplices should be tried with all the culprits, if and when that time arrives. And that is why I tell you gallantly today, Tiefin under fire at last, accountability on the rise once more. Isn't that hopeful, folks? Isn't that beautiful? Well,
EDDIE-FICATION, consultant human resource development and training specialist Eddie Frederick is powered by Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited and Tillian Group Country Cold Store.
The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program. Special challenge to all who decide to come into the room and be a part of edification. The person making the most outstandingly relevant comment in keeping with our topic is in for a special prize. On the table is a breakfast for two at Oliver's Restaurant at world-famous 6-star Spice Island Beach Resort. Lucky winner must make a reservation and present gift certificate upon arrival at the appointed time to redeem this gift. This will give you a wonderful opportunity to experience great service like you've never experienced it right here in Grenada from a business that is locally owned, locally managed, locally staffed, and locally trained. A true symbol of our national independence, Spice Island Beach Resort.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
lovely, lovely folks. Welcome back. Welcome back. It's always so lovely. And for those of you just joining us, I want to take this opportunity to welcome you also. Now, the recent industrial action at the headquarters of the Grenada Ports Authority that affected traffic at our St. George's Port at one time resembled a never-ending industrial impasse. From all appearances, it seemed to have ended. Not too sure, because as at the time I was coming to deliver this, I was told that a press release would have been made of an agreement, but not too sure where that is. But I have to say, from all appearances, it seems to have ended. Now, what a pity we have to speak of something as important as this is in such an unsure manner. This has to do with when people can't trust people, you keep it close to the chest. It's just unfortunate. Just no official release to be found anywhere to reflect discussions between the Minister of Labour, the union, and the Ports Authority. With something as magnanimous as the effects have been on this nation and its people at this time, the people needed to have been brought up to speed consistently on this matter. Not necessarily in any detailed form to compromise the process, but at least to be reassured that resolution is in sight, and we shall soon be over that particular dark spell. But it is my understanding that a boat with sand was worked on Friday night, which is a sign that work on the port resumed somewhat. Whatever the resolution, we must focus on the glory attached to the end of the action. For we should be singing the praises of all actors who made this possible. Of course, you might have had some blunders here and there, but this is a teaching opportunity and also a learning opportunity. I proffer that it should not have happened in the first place, but it did, and sure enough, there are important lessons to come out of it, I am sure. I'm just trusting and praying that all parties concerned would benefit. But the release from the Grenada Ports Authority of Tuesday, 15th November seemed very straightforward, and if its contents were to be taken as gospel, it's quite reasonable to interpret that the union was or could have been unreasonable. To compound this was the fact that the President General of Bargaining Agents for the workers at the Ports Authority said he received a call from the Ports Authority that the workers are outside, and the union undertook to find out what the issue was. He continued by saying the workers indicated they are concerned that the authority dismissed a Miss Alison Charles for poor performance. Importantly, he said, the union, this is to quote him now, quote, the union has adopted the workers' action, and as such, after examining the issue in relation to the contents of the letter, we also share the view that Miss Alison Chase's action did not warrant termination. I don't know if I said Alison Charles at first, but I stand corrected. It's Miss Alison Chase. Now, up to this time, all we heard after that was emotional responses to the impact of the workers' actions. No real meat has been forthcoming to support the term poor performance, for which the union boss claims Ms. Chase was dismissed. The emotional hot air continued to fill the atmosphere as a testimony of how, without proper information, the tempo surrounding any development could heat up solely based on rumors. While thumbing through my social media pages, though, I stumbled on an article of the now online New Today newspaper, where it is reported that a former Commissioner of Labour has accused the Technical and Allied Workers Union, TAU, and its president, Senator Andre Lewis, of being engaged in an illegal strike action at the St. George's Port that is now crippling the public, especially private sector businesses that have millions of dollars in goods on lockdown on the island's main port. Speaking to the New Today on Friday, the Labour official said the union and workers failed to exhaust the dispute procedure in calling a strike in what is an essential service and in breach of the Labour Relations Act. The Ministry of Labour should advise the trade union to get the workers back working while the dispute procedure is activated, he said. The former high-ranking government employee suggested that the new Congress administration of Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell should remind TAU of its responsibility by law to get the workers back on the job and to follow the procedures on strike in an essential service like the Grenada Ports Authority, the GPA. The article continued. The workers took strike on Monday afternoon GPA had a female employee whom it accused of breaching the work ethics. The employee has been dogged over the years with a number of allegations, and just before the June 23rd general election and change of government was the subject of an investigation for alleged wrongdoing at the Ports Authority. Referring to the port as a strategic area where the government collects its revenues, the former Labour Commissioner pointed out that TAU should follow the dispute procedures, where we go to the conciliation, and if the minister cannot settle the matter, we appoint arbitrators to give a final judgment on the matter based on facts. The former high-ranking public officer took issue with statements reportedly made by Senator Lewis that he had only joined the strike after the workers took industrial action by holding labor from the GPA. He described Senator Lewis's behavior as the tail wagging the dog, since it is now apparent that the workers went on strike and the union went in and followed them. Now, if the Labour Minister and the Labour Commissioner cannot handle it, then the Minister had the authority to invoke the arbitration process, which is not voluntary but compulsory. The arbitration panel will then be charged to look at the facts and come with a final determination, which is legal and binding. Anything that comes from the arbitrator is legal and binding. There is no need to go to court, as this is what the law says. I find this very instructive and logical indeed. However, since institutions were mangled over the long period of 20th June 1995 to 23rd June 2022, where thief season was just open for the most part, and wrong pegs were placed in square holes and vice versa, we have too many people who do not know their anus from a hole in the ground, all around the precincts of authority and leadership in Grenada. The new administration has its work cut out for it, as this is the major hurdle they must overcome so that thieving could really be placed under fire at last, while accountability remain on the rise once more.
EDDIE-FICATION with consultant human resource development and training specialist Eddie Frederick is powered by Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited, Group, Country Cold Store.
The strength of views and opinion expressed during EDDIE-FICATION are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
We have a special challenge to all who decide to come into the room and be a part of EDDIE-FICATION. The person making the most outstandingly relevant comment in keeping with our topic is on the table is a breakfast for two at Oliver's restaurant at world famous 6-star Diamond 5 Diamond Spice Island Beach Resort. Lucky winner must make a reservation and present gift certificate upon arrival at the appointed time to redeem this gift. This will give you a wonderful opportunity to experience great service like you've never experienced it right here in Grenada from a business that is locally owned, locally managed, locally staffed, and locally trained. A true symbol of our national independence, Spice Island Resort.
Operation motivation, great advice, inviting opinion pieces, as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful. You're going good tonight, folks. It's 35 minutes of the program gone already, but we have 2 more segments to go. Welcome back. And for those of you just joining, thanks for joining us, and thanks for your comments that are coming in fast and furious. Thank you. It's been a wonderful audience. But hit that share button, because we usually go up to crescendo at the end. So welcome back. The Deacon Mitchell-led administration has proved in short order that it is probably the most worker-friendly administration that ever presided over governance since independence. This is not the type of government that anyone should wish to carry on an adversarial relationship with, as they are making things smooth for all parties, to include workers, bargaining agents, and the nation as a whole, with its actions and not old talk, lies, and bramble, as we got used to. Allow me to share a short note received only this morning as I was preparing my approach to this vexing situation here in Grenada, where egos abound on a foundation of shallow, self-serving agendas. Quote, "Hey Eddie, I really would like to hear your take on the issue relating to the port, as it came to the fore so soon after your weak admission to everyone to pay attention so no one could kill you and say you enjoyed it. I hope I got the subject right." Of course you did. Everybody knows by now that the main troublemaking unions in Grenada are headed by NNP sympathizers. Whether they support the former dictator or the clean-shaven, charismatic plant that they would like to see scuttle the leadership from him. Grenada seems to be a really special place indeed. Everybody ought to know that labor unions usually throw their support behind pro-worker political parties. Only in Grenada would you find an abundance of evidence to support the contrary happening. The main unions, headed by controversial egotists, seem bent on aligning themselves with a political party that has demonstrated its pro-business and anti-worker DNA-infused culture. I was happy to hear you say to workers last week that they should take a serious look at saving their monthly $25 to $40 contribution to the unions to add to their finances later on so they could boost their pension fund, as against throwing it in the direction of their unions, strengthening their leaders and operatives who use the power they feel they have to turn around and kill the said workers and members and say they enjoyed it. Lord have mercy. Bear with me, please, Eddie. I want to offer them a more concrete way of realizing how much of a large and fattened beast created over years with their monthly financial contributions. Let's just look at the public service alone and say there are 3,500 of them who are properly employed by the Public Service Commission as provided for in our Constitution. $25 to $40 per month, we can be looking at the union collecting as much as $87,000 to $140,000 monthly. That does not even include the agency fee that they collect from all employees of government service. If you multiply that by 12 months, you would see that workers are putting these neophytes in quite a strong financial position indeed on an annual basis. EC, $1,044,000, EC, $1,680,000 per annum. It is time the workers learn to pay attention and stop allowing these unions to sell them for the devil and report that they are enjoying the journey. As members of the union, they should be all hold them to account for their dues. Because at the end of the day, when they call them out on strike and sick out, when their salaries are docked, the unions do not even have a secure fund to take care of them. They need to investigate at what level these said union bosses and operatives are paid. And if they discover they are better paid than they are, they should know what to do. Leave the goddamn union and save their money for themselves. Especially as with pension reform, they're likely to have to contribute to the pension fund for their future. Stop allowing the union to use your support to leverage their personal egos to settle vendettas against a successful lawyer or successful businessman whom they never were successful in winning any industrial matter against. Imagine the same lawyer whom they consider to be anti-worker in under a month return to teachers their docked salaries upon election. That same lawyer recently started the process of restoration of the pension fund to Grenada's retired public workers who were deprived of this since the 1980s. These union operatives can be seen to still be in bed with members of the longest serving administration since independence, who had absolutely no intention to pay the pension benefits. The unions are known to have unnecessary legal bills to support the many confusions that they are in the habit of manufacturing with employers because of the bacchanal nature of the operatives in leadership. Battles they are known never ever to win. I really wish you could see the wisdom in sharing my note, because it is high time our nation's people stop being taken and played the fool with by these imposters, whether in politics or outside of politics, with a serious political agenda. Whoa, whoa, unquote. Folks, I always tell people that not only picking someone's pocket, climbing someone's window and being their door to enter their homes forcibly are acts of stealing. Stealing is when you receive a monthly salary for not doing anything. When you can start an organization and help siphon money from poor, unsuspecting people. When you can collect money from people and use the position they give you to work on their behalf, and you instead work against their interest. Now that to me is the worst kind of thieving anyone can commit against another. You see, folks, since June 23rd, 2022, many of us look forward to rapid confirmation that thieving is really under fire, accountability being on the rise once more. Let's take in our last break here, and we'll come right back to finish this up.
Consultant Human Resource Development and Training Specialist Eddie Frederick is powered by Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited and Tillian Group's Country Cold Store.
The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
We have a special challenge to all who decide to come into the room and be a part of edification. The person making the most outstandingly relevant comment in keeping with our topic is in for a special prize. On the table is a breakfast for two at Arthur's Restaurant at world-famous 6-star Diamond 5 Diamond Spice Island Beach Resort. Lucky winner must make a reservation and present gift certificate upon arrival at the appointed time to redeem this gift. This will give you a wonderful opportunity to experience great service like you've never experienced it right here in Grenada. A business that is locally managed, locally staffed, and locally trained. A true symbol of our national independence. Spice Island Beach Resort.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wunderbar. Lovely, lovely. Okay, folks. So we're on to the last segment. I just want to welcome those of you who are just coming to the room. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And thanks very much for all your comments that have been coming in fast and furious. Talking about accountability, folks. Let us now turn our attention to a matter that has been vexing many for a long time now. Goodly folks, if you haven't really done so properly as yet, pull up your chair. Pay attention to the wanton acts of ignobility and no profession of law in Grenada. We all know that lawyers are officers of the court and operatives on the stage set to have justice dispensed to aggrieved parties. Can you imagine using a lawyer to represent you in a divorce proceeding, so to speak? The court awarded you a certain share of the spoils. The lawyer receives the cash part of the settlement, whether $1, $25,000, $18,000, $350,000. And 17 years on, you are yet to receive a cent. But you know the lawyer received the money because the other party paid the money to his lawyer or her lawyer. And that lawyer said, yes, we sent check over. Could you imagine having a property sold? The bank is satisfied with its residual settlement to clear the mortgage. The buyer is happy with the price he paid and is in full possession of the said property. And the seller is yet to get his or her settlement from his or her legal representative, whether it is 3 months, 6 months. Hello? Something has got to be wrong with that picture. Could you imagine being directed to take out citizenship by investment instead of paying alien landholding license, which is much cheaper than the cost associated with CBI application and certification, just because your legal counsel is probably a CBI agent and looking for business? Something has got to be wrong with that picture. Could you imagine completing a transaction excess, let's say, $750,000, $750,000, and you're awaiting your money, and all 6 months down the road, the lawyer you hired is providing you with cock and bull stories about your money, while all this time the money is in an interest-bearing account, unknowing to you, and when you finally get it, you are made to believe that your lawyer only just recently received same when they make off the interest for the ensuing period. Something has to be wrong with that picture, folks. That is thieving. Goodly folks, these are only some of the malpractices a certain kind of lawyer right here in Grenada carry on with, and no disciplinary measures instituted against such. This is where I found my way of today. Thieving is under fire. Accountability on the rise once more. Talking about this, we recently learned that a female attorney at law, Brenda Wadali-Beaumont, has been disbarred and can no longer practice as a lawyer in Grenada. As someone recently asked, who is going to make darn sure that she takes down the sign on her office in Grenville and that she really does not proceed to conduct business, even though she can no longer practice law before the courts? Who is going to make sure of that? The decision to ban Wadali-Beaumont was announced in court on Tuesday, 15th November, by one of the local sitting High Court judges. As far back as December 17, 2014, the High Court had delivered a decision that the conduct of the female lawyer be referred to a disciplinary judicial panel of 2 judges of our local Supreme Court for a determination whether she, Wadali-Beaumont, should be suspended from practice or struck from the role for professional misconduct. The local online New Today's story, which was further corroborated, stated that, quote, according to informed sources, the recommendation to finally strike the female lawyer from the role in the Supreme Court registry was made by a local legal body headed by retired High Court Judge Rosalind Wilkinson, which is currently reviewing a number of complaints made by the public against several other lawyers. The source told the non-online newspaper that the Grenada Bar Association, the GBA, has been officially notified about the decision against Wadali Beaumont. The legal official pointed out that the final straw came in a court matter filed against the female lawyer by attorney at law Alban John, who was representing a client in a divorce matter. He said that Wadali Beaumont, who was representing one of the parties in the matter, collected money for the other party and did not hand it over. Oh my God. Folks, a few years ago, an English judge practicing in a local Supreme Court, Gerhard Wallbank, had delivered another judgment against Wadali Beaumont in a local court over a money issue amounting to over $350,000 and raised concerns over her continued presence as a lawyer on the island given her conduct. Wadali Beaumont is the only Grenadian attorney at law known to be disbarred from practicing in a local court in the past 40 years. The legal insider also told the New Today that the Wilkinson-led committee is reviewing the conduct of several other practicing lawyers and plan to make recommendations for the disbarment of some of them. In fact, word reaching me just prior to showing up this delivery here today indicate that one very popular name in the profession could very well be next. Many people are calling for the heads of the unscrupulous legal minds who have been known to wrong unsuspecting clients during their years of practice. One thing we must understand and appreciate is the fact that the Rosalind Wilkinson-led disciplinary body cannot act without reports and evidence. When a lawyer chases from his case, when you reported you should to collect money paid to him or her on your behalf, and especially if you have already paid for your services, you need to report them forthwith. You need to stop watching the opposing lawyer in your matter crossed eye and swelling up when you see them, whether in the court or outside of the court, as if they have no right to act for someone else, for fear that you may need their cooperation to seal the deal that they pay your lawyer on your behalf in your favor. So you can take the matter further with concrete evidence. You see, a lot of you in the court, you like to swell up and square up at people as if, well, the lawyer on the other side ain't going to see you or ain't notice you. We have to watch that, because when you behave like that, in behaving like that, you cause them to lock the briefcase. So should you need cooperation from them, you're likely to get none. Focus on your business, focus on your lawyer, and stop watching the opposing lawyer cross-eye. The opposing lawyer is doing their work. You mind your business. You see, folks, too many of these ignoble elements are allowed to fly under the radar and pose as legal luminaries when their skulls are probably too soft to claim any scholarship behind anything they tell you. The legal profession in Grenada is too crowded. And if we can find one unscrupulous element among them, that number too many are the plethora that there are buzzing around this supposedly noble profession. If we want accountability, and if we want accountability to rise in Grenada once more, we have to take steps to report all the old thief that are parading themselves as good and upstandish citizens in the legal profession. All legal chambers, folks, all legal chambers are advised to have 2 accounts, as they should. You know what is interesting? There are a few who this advice is not necessary for, because they've been operating as they should. 1 account for the clients and the other for the conduct of their day-to-day business operations. Taking clients' money and using it as theirs is a practice that must not be tolerated, whether by the system or the client that becomes their eventual victim. A word of reminder here to all aggrieved citizens who feel they have been wronged by any lawyer. Walk up to the Supreme Court registry and inquire where you should lodge, your complaints against the unscrupulous practicing lawyers in this town. Oh God, we have too many of them. We have heard some of them on national news referring to others as part of a cartel, where all the banks and other corporations channel their work through as a form of envy. And so it is no surprise that they join the get-rich-quick train and break shortcuts to appear to be successful while driving fancy cars and SUVs and building big houses and fast-tracking themselves to disgrace with clients' money. Folks, too much of that going on in Grenada. We have to flam the trap. Any lawyer wronged you, go and complain. You don't know who to complain to? Go up to the registry. It's the place on the opposite side of the entrance to the Catholic Church. That building right there, where the old courthouse was. Go there and report. Find out who you have to report to. They will tell you. But it's about time we shake the bully in this country. I'm excited, folks, about change. That change that we all voted for on June 23rd this year. It promises to put teeth under rapid fire, while accountability is to be put in a position where it can rise in this country once more. Folks, I'm out. I'm gone. See you next week, God willing, for regular programming. Until then, stay safe, stay well, remain lifted. I really want to thank all of you folks joining me this evening. As per usual, especially those animated ones with comments. You know, we have to start exposing people in this country too. This place is just built on fakedom. When you are real and you keep it real, they feel something wrong with you. I don't like that man. That man will just say anything, anytime, anyhow. In fact, they even reach as far as we disrespectful to who? Our old thief? Disrespectful to who? A corrupt architect? Disrespectful to who? You cannot disrespect, folks. You call it out. And you see, you know what is wrong with y'all? Some of you are so fake for yourself. You want a friend, and you will never be able to say what I say because I don't want a friend. My relationships are sound and are full up. And I am very busy. I keep myself busy. So I hardly have time for old talk and small talk and rubbish. You understand what I'm saying? I want, when the end comes to me, it's not me sliding down an old mountain, but it must find me climbing anew. Why? Because I have life. And where there's life, there must be some hope, folks. We were born, always remember this, to grow. We were born to go in this direction, not this direction, or just stay here. No. Every generation has been given a chance to do what? to add to what the generation before left for them. We are supposed to add, not subtract, or just amble through. We are supposed to contribute. And that's what I'm doing. And I've been doing this for so long. Can't you see the glee in my spirit when I'm doing this? It's effortless because I am focused. No friend. I don't want no friend. I have who I have already, and that's enough. Isn't that interesting? They say a man that can go to a restaurant and sit by himself and have a drink and eat something is at a dangerously high level of freedom, you know. I can do that. In fact, I usually do that. What does that say? There are lots of you that behave as if you're joined at the hip at birth with people. You're afraid of your own self. You have to be with the crowd. You must be with people. Well, ain't nothing so with me. Folks, we have to start being the individuals we were put here to be. People dying like you know, falling off a tree like lime these days. And yet for all people just living this fake life. Fake. Everything is about material. You go out now, you don't even know if you're coming back in safe because some crazy car that some parent give them, or some aunt, or some they borrow, or they have a money and they rent on the weekend, and they're using the car as a weapon. They're just flying all over the place like madness. And then it would appear as though we have a traffic department in the police force as 8 to 4 Monday to Friday. So 8 to 4 Monday to Friday, and then there's no traffic after that. Folks, we have a country to build, you know, and we have a lot of things to put in order. But we have to recondition this. Our attitudes must change, because if we don't get the attitude right, nothing will change. Nothing is going to go up. It's going to continue to stay here stymied. You see how little tin God's behaving, and ego and ego and ego. Workers of this country, just remember, the government you have now is pro you. Don't let those that are anti that you pay monthly, don't let them fool you to think otherwise. Because you are paying them to further their own political agenda, which is anti-you. And you funding that. Remember what I told you last week? Pay attention so no one could kill you and say you enjoyed it. Peace and blessings, folks. Have a lovely, lovely, lovely weekend.
EDDIE-FICATION with consultant human resource development and training specialist Eddie Frederick is powered by Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited and Tillian Group Country Cold Store.
Co-op Bank introduces e-payments, our new banking feature that allows you to make payments online hassle-free. Log in securely with biometric technology. Make recurring payments easier with automated scheduling. Save time by paying your bills online. Transfer money to accounts that other accounts. Send transfers go to anywhere in the world. Or send money to friends or family using Buddy Payment. E-payments, the swift, simple, and secure way of transferring money.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, or chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Believe in our strength, we stand by you. Protection from all, devils big and small. It's so classy, peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family, yes we do at every opportunity.
Continue you underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well.
friendship.
We have a special challenge to all who decide to come into the room and be a part of edification. The person making the most outstandingly relevant comment in keeping with our topic is in for a special prize. On the table is a breakfast for two at Oliver's Restaurant at world-famous 6-star Diamond 5 Diamond Spice Island Beach Resort. Lucky winner must make a reservation and present gift certificate upon arrival at the appointed time to redeem this gift. This will give you a wonderful opportunity to experience great service like you've never experienced it right here in Grenada from a business that is locally owned, locally managed, locally staffed, and locally trained. A true symbol of our national independence, Spice Island Beach Resort.
Make your wishes come true this Christmas with a loan from Corporate. Make those home renovations, treat your family and friends, and get the things on your Christmas list. All of this is possible with our hassle-free financing of up to $40,000. Apply today, and you can be one of the 5 lucky customers to win a shopping spree. Have it all as you wish this Christmas with Corporate. Visit our website or your nearest retail banking unit for more details. Terms and conditions apply.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, advice, and fighting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver.